All right. Yes. Good evening, everyone. So, as this is live session, online students, good evening. So, this is Environment and Ecology weekly current affairs session, and we are covering the important developments for our mains GS3 paper, environment section, and for prelims also. Now, today also we'll cover some very relevant and important topics that we are basically having for environment section, especially related to impact of war and armed conflict on environment and ecology, and we can say that the compressed biogas and how it is ensuring our, we can say that, energy security. But before starting the session, I would like to announce here a few things related to optional subject at Legacy IAS Academy. Four optional subjects starting from 17th August, which are these the most, let's say, opted optional subjects like psychology, PSIR, anthropology, and sociology. So expert faculties, expert guidance, experienced faculties are there, expert guidance is being provided, and there will be one open session on 30th of July. So I would advise all of you to join that YouTube live session so that your doubts will be cleared. And if you want to know more about these sessions, these optional subject, how they are going to be proceeded, what is the free structure and all, reach out to Legacy IAS Academy and you will get the details. Now let's talk about the first topic. Yes. So this is more important for our mains examination, the ecological cost of armed conflicts. Yes. Why it is in news? You can see that from 2022 onwards, you can see that Ukraine-Russia war, right? Ukraine-Russia war is going on. And from that onwards, several conflicts are in news. Like conflicts are there, like Sudan conflict is in news, or we can talk about, let's say, West Africa, or you can take the example of Israel Hamas conflict. Right. So basically there are several conflicts in news. They are wars, they are regional conflicts, and it has resulted into lot of environmental impact, which is not basically discussed in the mainstream media, but we have to understand it has resulted into significant impact. Okay, and that impact we have to study here. We are expecting question from GS3 paper. Environment part is there, ecology and environment part is there, and it is having some overlapping aspect related to security, disaster management, and we can say that in GS2 paper IR, right, international relations, as well as GS4, we can say that ethics related aspect, how environmental ethics is there. Already UPSC has asked question on environmental ethics, as well as ethics in international relations, war ethics, and all these things. This is the syllabus topic we have to understand, right? So same things, UPSC relevance is given here, security aspect, and we have to understand that United Nations have recognized environment as a victim of war. So war is not only the humanitarian disaster, rather it is also environmental disaster. This is the way we can expect question in GS3 paper. Okay. Now we'll talk about details of this, how it is resulting into problems. First of all, we can say that, yes, the major ecological impact of warfare, first of all, land. You can remember that land, air, water, and biodiversity as a broader aspect. So simply, okay, land, or we can say that it is a geo aspect in terms of when we talk about biodiversity or the spheres. So when we talk about the biosphere, it is the lithosphere, right? Land is a lithosphere. Then hydrosphere, that is water aspect is there. Then we can say that atmosphere, the air aspect is there. And then we can talk about is biosphere, that is biodiversity. Like we can remember like this, the interface of all these three is biodiversity or biosphere. So impact on all these three, we can, let's say, structurize in our answer. Now, how land is getting degraded, like for example, bombing. So bombing removes the fertile topsoil, tank movement compacts the soil, heavy metals and explosive residue contaminate the land, landmines make farmland unusable for future. So this is mostly observed in Ukraine. Okay, this kind of, let's say, degradation is observed in Ukraine Russia war. Air pollution, burning oil wells and infrastructure. Now West Asia, oil wells kahan pe hoga? It is there in West Asia, right? So there we have observed in Qatar, few years back, let's say gas and oil wells were openly burning. Recently, you can see that in one of the Qatar gas field was attacked when there was, let's say, Israel and Iran conflict was going on. The toxic smoke and harmful gases. So again, same thing, we can say that because of burning oil wells, explosive release of NOx, SO2 and other pollutants as air pollutants, increase in particulate matter. So it's not only this one. We should understand that when war is going on, defense industry gets boosted. So defense industry is a manufacturing industry. Again, it is resulting into air pollution. That aspect should be also covered here. Defense industry, pollution from manufacturing. It's not only use of arms, okay, in conflict, it is production also. So production will also result into air pollution. Water pollution, oil spills, chemical leaks. So this is also concern. Oil spill happened in the Lebanon war 2006. Then damage to dams, pipelines and sewage. So you can give 2023 example of Ukraine dam. In Ukraine, dam busted in 2023. There was one question on dam failure in GS3 paper 2023 based on this only. Dam failure. And one more dam failure happened in Libya. Right. Contamination of surface and groundwater, scarcity of safe drinking water. These kinds of things happen. We can say that it affects overall water quality and water supply, drinking water supply. Then we can talk about is biodiversity loss. Like biodiversity loss is, we can say, major concern in terms of forest clearance. So in Ukraine, so much of large forest land has been cleared for movement of tanks and we can say that military personnel. So destruction of forest and habitats, fragmentation of ecosystem, displacement and loss of wildlife. Of course, their habitat is being destructed. Wetlands and marine ecosystem gets degraded, especially because of oil spills. Okay, so this result into biodiversity loss. So these four aspects we should discuss in this manner. All right. Now let's talk about next. That is, we can talk about specifically climate change, how it is impacting or resulting into climate change or let's say ecological consequences. First of all, greenhouse gas emissions, climate change, global warming. So military vehicles, aircrafts, naval fleets, operations, reconstruction and industrial activities, all is going to result into CO2 emissions, greenhouse gas emissions. Second, destruction of carbon sinks. Now forest fires, deforestation, I told you Ukraine ka example you can give. Wetlands and grassland degradation. So basically they are carbon sink. Forest, wetlands, they are carbon sink. We are damaging their ability to absorb atmospheric CO2. Right? Soil damage reduces carbon sequestration. So soil is one of the major carbon sink. So simply we can say that forest, second wetlands, and third we can talk about is this one soil, and fourth oceans, oil spill and all. So their ability to absorb CO2, we are destroying carbon sink. Third, ecosystem collapse, loss of ecosystem services, disruption of food webs, decline in biodiversity. Same thing we can talk of earlier, ecosystem collapse. Either you, let's say, divide or structurize in that four: land, water, air and biodiversity, or in this manner specifically about ecological consequences. So you can draw like this a flow chart also, like this one: food insecurity, then human displacement will happen because soil is getting affected, water supply is getting affected, it will create food insecurity. Then because of that, human displacement, so you can talk about is, we can say, refugees. Okay, human displacement, climate vulnerability it will create, and human insecurity, or like that, war to climate impact, war, greenhouse gas emission, climate change, extreme events and food crisis. So ultimately we can say food insecurity will displace human being, again further human insecurity. In this manner we can talk about this. Okay, so ultimately we have to say here that whenever the biodiversity or all this water pollution, air pollution is getting accentuated because of, we can say that, the war and greenhouse gas emissions, ultimately it will create a climate vulnerability and human insecurity. All right. Now we'll take some case studies also. You should mention at least 2 case studies. Recent one, yes, Ukraine conflict that is going on and Gaza conflict that happened long time period. It created past Kuwait 1991 Gulf War. So you can have variety of example. Ukraine war, land mines on agriculture land. Forest patch is being cleared, forest fire, habitat loss, dam destruction and river pollution. We said 2023 dam destruction happened. Then threat to Black Sea biodiversity because all these rivers are entering into Black Sea there. So these example. Then Gaza collapse of wastewater treatment plants, water contamination and scarcity, and that resulted into, we can say, threat to human health and food security. In this manner, you can talk about Gaza conflict. It resulted into, we can say, man-made famine, starvation, deaths, sanitation, lack of sanitation, health impact. We can say that lack of sanitation. So it increases the burden, especially for women, children, vulnerable sections. Then you can give this Kuwait 1991 oil well set on fire, massive smoke plumes, severe air pollution across West Asia, long-term impact on human health and environment. So all this here also, Lebanon 2006, it resulted in oil spill in Mediterranean Sea, marine biodiversity loss happened. So ultimately you should understand that war may stop after 1 year or 2 year or 5 year, but its impact remains for long period of time. Right? So these case studies you can give here. 1 or 2 points within that each case study. Okay. Now, as a way forward, what we can mention? Yes. So, international legal and institutional framework for reference you can mention. The major convention is Geneva Convention 1949. Prohibit methods and means of warfare likely to cause widespread, long-term and severe damage to natural environment. Geneva Convention 1949. Then United Nations recognizes environment as an integral to peace and security. Okay. Then you should know that 6th November, International Day for Preventing Exploitation of Environment in War and Armed Conflict. 6th November, especially to spread awareness. Then ENMOD Convention 1976, specifically for modification, let's say techniques, environmental modification techniques, Convention on Prohibition of Military or any other hostile use of environmental modification techniques that will have wide scale impact or damage to the human environment. We can say that prohibits hostile use of environmental modification with widespread, long lasting and severe effects. So this is specific convention for this purpose, 1976. Okay. And yes, UNEP plays key role in terms of prohibiting any kind of, let's say, environmental damage because of, let's say, any kind of conflicts. It supports sustainable peace building, ecological restoration and recovery after the war ended. Okay, so remember these names: Geneva Convention 1949, ENMOD Convention, basically Environmental Modification Techniques Convention 1976, and 6th November, International Day for Preventing Exploitation of Environment in War and Armed Conflict. All right, now specific, let's say, measures as a part of way forward. Yes, you can categorize them as during conflict, after conflict and long term. During conflict, protecting critical ecosystem and biodiversity hotspots. Then avoid targeting environmentally hazardous installations. Like we can have simply nuclear power plants, chemical plants, or let's say hazardous industries are there. They are targeted many a times. Thermal power plants. So that will result into release of harmful chemicals. Environmental impact assessment and monitoring during, we can say that the conflict, uphold international humanitarian law. The conventions, Geneva Convention and all. After conflict, ecological restoration of degraded area, restoration, and we can say rehabilitation, restoration, soil remediation and reclamation, especially that is affected by crude oil or oil spills. Right. So we have bioremediation technologies. You can mention bioremediation techniques. You can they can be used. Bioremediation techniques. Water treatment and source protection, mine clearance and safe land return, reforestation and habitat recovery. So afforestation, deforestation measures. After conflict, the focus should be on, we can say, recovery, and focus should be on reclaiming whatever the forest land was there. There should be afforestation measure. Long term, include environmental causes in peace agreements. So whenever there are conflicts and peace agreements are there, there should be, environmental damage should be part of that recovery, right? Green reconstruction and sustainable infrastructure, strengthening international cooperation and support. See, all these generic terms will be there. Accountability for environmental damage caused by war. Now this one should be there in negotiation. So whenever we are having peace agreements, this particular aspect should be included in it. That is accountability for environmental damage caused by war. So broader aspect will be preventing the environmental destruction, protecting, safeguarding, we can say that, environmental ecosystems during the conflict, restoring after the war, build the resilience so as to minimize the damage during war. All right. Okay, so this was important, especially for GS3 paper. This is a pending topic. We are basically, predicting this from 2022 onwards, Ukraine-Russia war. So somehow one year or another year UPSC will ask this question. Then compressed biogas. It was in news because West Asian conflict, it resulted into a lot of problems in terms of natural gas import into India that affected LPG gas cylinders and overall natural gas supply in India, right? So the focus is again on having the strategic independence, autonomy in terms of energy security. Especially earlier we were focusing on oil import and all. Now recently in last 6 months the focus was on gas, right? If we talk about certain facts, about 60% of overall, we can say that we are import dependent for natural gas supply. Within that, about, we can say that 90% of it is, we can say that, from Strait of Hormuz. It crosses Strait of Hormuz, which is, we can say that, strategic. It has become, we can say that, bottleneck, or we can say that strategic checkpoint. Choke point, sorry. Okay, strategic choke point. Right. Recently, Iran-Israel war, that resulted into a lot of problem for us. So we are focusing on now energy security in terms of domestic production, and that too renewable energy, that is compressed biogas. So there can be direct question in GS3 paper, economy part, environment part, and science and tech overlapping is there. Okay. So then what is biogas? Simply, it is organic waste, which is, let's say, after anaerobic digestion, it will result into biogas. Biogas mostly consists of methane and CO2. Okay, combination of methane and CO2, carbon dioxide. So after biogas is produced, it is purified and compressed to form CBG, compressed biogas. Compressed is required so that less space, more energy is, let's say, available, and it can be used for vehicles. Okay, produced from cattle dung, crop residue, municipal waste, sewage sludge. Purified CBG is chemically similar to CNG. So that's why recently the government has announced they are going to blend CBG into CNG. The way we are using bioethanol, many times it is in news, right? Then it supports, we can say that, carbon neutral, renewable, and supports the circular economy. Ultimately use the key terms like, for example, waste to wealth. Okay, first waste to wealth, write down, plus energy security, plus climate action, plus rural economy. Okay, it is let's say increasing the income of farmers also, right? It is increasing the income of farmers. Climate action, because it is renewable energy, we can say energy security, dependence on the imports is reducing. These terms should be there in terms of significance. Now, India's energy security or vulnerability, let's talk about that. 85% of crude oil import Around 90% of LPG crosses Strait of Hormuz, making it vulnerable for geopolitical disruption. Right? So simply we can say agriculture, urban waste, domestic fuel production, reduce fossil fuel imports, greater energy security. This is the sequence. So major benefits includes reducing the import dependence, right? So it will also save our foreign exchange reserves. That is also aspect here from the economy point of view. Converts waste into clean fuel. So it is, we can say, waste to energy. Prevents stubble burning. Again, we can say that agricultural residue we are burning, that is resulting into air pollution. So that will stop. Methane emissions will stop. Then we can talk about is generates organic manure also from that digester. We are producing biogas and remaining is now organic fertilizer. So dependence on chemical fertilizer, which is harmful, again we can say it is environmentally eco-friendly, we can say that. Creates rural employment and additional farmer income, that is also good thing. Supports net zero and sustainable development goal commitments. So in this manner we should understand. Now three important initiatives by Government of India. First is SATAT. Write down full form. Okay, sustainable alternative towards affordable transportation. So it is talking about use of CBG produced from waste, or we can say agricultural residue and urban waste, organic waste. Compressed biogas. Now as it is talking about fuel, so basically it is implemented by Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. Okay, Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, CBG. So this is SATAT initiative started in 2018. Then Gobardhan scheme, waste to wealth, Gobardhan. So what is Gobardhan full form? Like this. Okay, so it is galvanizing organic bioagro resources. Okay, this is Gobar full form, and then simply we can say that it is waste to energy. So this is under, we can say that, Ministry of Jal Shakti, part of, we can say that, Department of Drinking Water Supply and Sanitation. So this is we can say one more scheme. Then mandatory CBG blending in CNG or PNG. Recently the government has come up with the mandatory guidelines from 2025, 26 onwards. 1% of blending will be there in CNG, mandatory, and we have to increase that by 2029 to 30. We have to increase that to 5%. This factual information should be there for prelims as well as mains. Mandatory CBG blending. It will be done under, again, Ministry of Petroleum. Okay, the way we are doing bioethanol, same. Okay, is this clear? Now, what are the challenges? Challenges related to this particular scheme or overall, let's say, production. Challenges: slow progress in CBG plant establishment. Okay, so it is huge plant, so of course the space required, all these things are there, and then high capital and technology cost is also involved. Feedstock collection and logistic issues, especially agriculture residue. It will be seasonal, right? So collection, many times rainfall will be there, again wo kharab ho jata hai. So many problems are there. Limited private investment is there, so most of the time government has to take the lead here. Weak marketing and gas infrastructure, especially pipeline infrastructure, it is not extensive. Then public resistance due to environmental concerns in some areas, especially related to smell and all these things. Okay, biogas plants smell aata hai bahut zyada, so that is, we can say, problematic. Public resistance. Then global lessons we should learn. So yes, Germany has emphasized on this, but what is the problem here? There is heavy use of dedicated energy crops, concerns over food security. So here there is a debate over fuel versus food. In India, we cannot use the food crops for fuel purpose, no, bioethanol and all these things. So there is concern. So similarly, in Germany, there is concern, and that's why concerns over food security. India population is more. So we are focusing, we should take lessons from Denmark, focus on agricultural waste and manure. Okay, sustainable and farmer centric model. So we should use that model. Give that example in your answer. Then what should be the way forward? Whatever the challenges are there, we have to convert. Promote waste based feedstock, not energy crops. Okay, this one we focus should be on waste based, not energy crops. Then strengthening Satat and Govardhan implementation, government schemes. Expand gas pipeline and CBG distribution infrastructure. So pipeline challenge was there. Encourage PPP and viability gap funding. So we are saying private sector is not ready. So there should be PPP model. Integrate CBG with Swachh Bharat. Sanitation related is the Namaste scheme is again we can say manual scavenging and sanitation related. Biofuel policy we have on circular economy. So we need to integrate them so as to reduce the multiplicity of the government schemes and resources, wastage of resources, and efficient we can say that outcome. All right. So in this manner we can talk about this energy security aspect. All right. Next. Yes. Now prelims oriented topics are there in news. What is this particular one? Yes. Paraquat dichloride. This is we can say that one herbicide. It was in news, weedicide or herbicide, and the government is planning to ban it. Okay. Let's try to understand what is this particular weedicide. It is a non-selective. Non-selective means what? It is, we can say that can be used for all weeds, not weed selective. A particular weed, it is not for all weeds, non-selective. Contact herbicide, so it is sprayed directly. Okay, used for rapid weed control before sowing and in plantation crops, especially tea plantations, coffee plantations, rubber plantations. Acts by disrupting photosynthesis, producing ROS that destroy plant cells. So ROS is what? Reactive oxygen species. So it is creating such kind of, let's say, molecules, chemically reactive oxygen molecules that destroy plant cells, and that's why it is disrupting photosynthesis in weeds and destroy them. Most of the weedicide work on this mechanism. This mechanism you have to remember. Why it is controversial, highly toxic even in small quantities. No specific antidote once it is, let's say, inhaled. Causes lung fibrosis, kidney and liver failure. Multi-organ damage can happen and linked to Parkinson's disease also. Now there has been several cases of misuse by the people. You know, many times the farmers are indebted and many times they will do suicide, or the family members will do suicide, and that's why it is very harmful. There has been several cases. Okay, that's why it is being banned. Okay, significance and way forward. Yes, we will talk about that. Why has India proposed ban? Protect farm workers, rural communities from getting poisoning, reduce accidental poisoning and suicides, align with precautionary principle. Okay, precautionary principle is important aspect in, we can say that, dealing with these harmful chemicals, based on recommendation of expert committee under Insecticide Act 1968. Also, global perspective, 70 plus countries have already banned this particular, including European nations. Challenges after ban, especially availability of effective and affordable alternative for weedicides for the farmers. That is a challenge. Then awareness among the farmers. Even if it is banned, many times farmers are not aware about this at ground level. Promotion of integrated weed management, IWM, it is also important aspect. Integrated weed management will ensure that there is, we can say that, organic pesticides are used, right? Pest management, or sorry, it's not only pesticides, it is also organic weedicides, herbicides. So integrated, then we can say that amount, no overuse, specific use is there. So this is integrated weed management. Adoption, then adoption of mechanical, this is also part of this, mechanical and bioherbicide methods, bioherbicide, organic. So in this manner we should understand for UPSC examination how to utilize this in mains examination. Question related to sustainable agriculture, eco-friendly agriculture practices, pesticide regulation in India, integrated pest and weed management, precautionary principle, and we can say that in Insecticide Act 1968 will be soon replaced by new framework. So government is going to come up with new act, right? So mains examination balancing agriculture productivity, public health and environmental sustainability. So in this manner we can talk about three things: agricultural productivity, first agriculture productivity, second public health, and third environmental sustainability. Draw this in your answer, you'll get good marks. Okay, now let's try to solve answer to this one. क्या होना चाहिए इसका आंसर? Look at, we didn't talk about this fourth, Stockholm Convention on Persistent Organic Pollutants. Yes, but it is not a for global ban yet. Okay, what is this Stockholm Convention on Persistent Organic Pollutants? Stockholm Convention, this can be asked in prelims. Okay, Stockholm Convention. Conference is different. Stockholm Conference is 1972. Okay, that is for human environment. Stockholm Convention is on POP, persistent organic pollutants. It was opened in 2001 for signing, enforced, came in force from 2004. India became member. India has ratified in 2006. Okay. POPs are persistent organic pollutants. That means they are, we can say, chemicals that remain in environment for long period of time. For long time. They are not biodegradable. Okay. So that's why, and then it has problems related to bioaccumulation, biomagnification, and biomagnification. So that is threatening not only, we can say, human health, but also health of many other environmental, we can say that living and non-living components. POPs, so it basically regulates, it prohibit, annexure A, annexure B, annexure C, prohibition and regulation of different, we can say that, chemicals, organic pollutants, they are called as, especially prohibition, they are 12, also called as dirty dozens. They are categorized as dirty dozens, like DDT. Okay, it is banned in India also. Mostly they are basically pesticides and herbicides, weedicides, like that, harmful chemicals. Okay, so this is Stockholm Convention. All right, now we'll move on. Answer is 1, 2, 3 only. Okay, it is not included yet under this one. Okay, then parrot Bornavirus 4. Yes, it was in news. Bornavirus 4. First detection in India. So basically it has been identified and genetically characterized for the first time in India. Okay, PABV4. Now as the name suggests, parrot. So this is going to affect parrot and its family, no? That is called as, we can say that, citizen birds. They are called as citizen birds. Okay, parrots, macaws, cockatoos, parakeets, conures, right? So these birds in India, if you talk about that, in India we have what? Parrots, right? Now these parrots are basically having as a curved beak. Curved beak is there, the unique feature of these birds. They can ask, like, such kind of, let's say, about these birds. You can see here, having strong curved beak and zygotactyl feet forward, 2 feet forward, 2 forward and 2 backward, and high intelligence. This is the unique characteristics of these birds. Right? Many of these birds also speak intelligence. Now, why it is called as important? Because it is key for avian health conservation of exotic pet bird trade in India. Now, what happens is in India, the pets that are allowed, those which are native to India, these parrots, they are not allowed to keep pets in India. That is banned. But exotic birds which are bred in India, you know, breeding kiya jata hai, they are allowed in India. Exotic pets. So many conure birds or these macaws, these birds are allowed in India, which are basically exotic species, not found in India. Their breeding is allowed in India and they can be kept as pet, but they die because of this virus. Okay, that's why this particular virus, let's say, has been identified, and in future, basically, vaccine can be developed or whatever. Let's say things can be focused. Look at this. What happens because of this virus? It causes proventricular dilatation disease. Although UPC will not ask the name of the disease and all these things because so many things will be in news. It affects digestive system and nervous system. Okay, digestive system and nervous system. Weight loss or resultation, undigested seeds in droppings, transmission, contact with infected birds. Now the breeders, you may have seen, they keep all these birds together, no? So that can result into simply contact and that spreads. Droppings and feather dust also. Asymptomatic birds may shed virus, enabling silent spread. Treatment, no specific antiviral drug, no vaccine available at present. So it may be developed, prevention, strict biosecurity, quarantine of new birds and all these things. So it is important in terms of wildlife disease surveillance, One Health approach, biodiversity conservation in India. If suppose these birds accidentally enters into wild, then it will spread that virus to wild animals also, Indian native parrot species. So it will result into, we can say, loss of extinction of species, lowering the biodiversity of India. That's why it is significant. Okay, biosecurity, wildlife disease surveillance, One Health approach. In this manner, we should understand. Then what should be answer to this question then? Yes, an effective vaccine is currently available. It is saying it is not available. So 1 and 2 only is the correct answer. Lastly, there was recently one conference held in Haryana. Name is Indian Wildlife Ecology Conference. Okay, Indian Wildlife Ecology Conference 2026, Sonipat, Haryana. It happened in Ashoka University. The theme was community-based approaches to combat illegal wildlife hunting and trade. This was basically conducted by Aranyak NGO is there, and we can say that this what is that? Wildlife Trust of India, again NGO, Wildlife Trust of India. Together they had hosted this, brings together researchers, policymakers, enforcement agencies like Wildlife Crime Control Bureau. It is the we can say that apex body in terms of wildlife, illegal wildlife trade and crimes, NGOs, local communities. Now the key highlights of discussion and deliberation is, we can say that, community surveillance. So it is talking about community based approaches to combat wildlife crime. Community should be active participant in dealing with illegal, let's say, trade, wildlife crime, because they know the area, they are well aware about, even they know the language of the people, they are well aware about the terrain and the species that are found there and how to deal with that situation, and local connections, networking. Community surveillance, local communities are the first line of defense against poaching. So as a way forward also, if suppose question is related to illegal wildlife trade and all these things, you mention this, community-led approach should be there. They are the first line of defense against poaching. Evidence-based conservation, use of research, database, open source intelligence for targeting action. So open source intelligence, this term is in news, like for use of AI should be there. Multi-stakeholder collaboration like forest department, wildlife crime control bureau, NGOs, local people. Then capacity building training to the local people, technology integration like GIS, digital monitoring, AI, all these technology integration should be there. So we can say that community based conservation includes these things: local participation, traditional knowledge they have, scientific monitoring, and strong law enforcement is equal to effective wildlife crime control prevention or crime prevention, right? So you can use the terms like illegal wildlife trade is there, community surveillance, okay, community based conservation, community surveillance, or you can use the term participatory conservation. So these are all terms, relevant terms that we should use. Okay, we'll attach this PDF in the description of video. Online students can download that, use these as a notes. Very important for revision purpose. Any question, any doubt? Fine? Bolo. Yes.
Agricultural waste residue, the crop residue. I think in one of the previous classes you spoke about biochar.
Yes.
So can we integrate that and write an answer about how to tackle crop residues?
Yes, one of the option biochar, another option bio CNG, or simply compressed biogas. Right? Methods are there, different methods. Now biochar can be used for soil enhancement, and we can say that other aspects. This is specifically for fuel, right? Transmission, integration into, we can say that CNG. So we are more dependent nowadays on import of all these gases, natural gas and all, no? So we can use that as renewable energy sources. We can reduce the dependence on, we can say, all these countries. So this is the way we should use our own waste to energy aspect is there, or we can say that we are based simply burning the agricultural residue. Air pollution is happening, Punjab and Haryana. Use that, right? We can use it. And we can say that also climate actions commitments we have, net zero commitments. So this is, we can say, in one action we are achieving so many of objectives related to environment protection, right? So you can use them different parts.
Like for the infrastructure, like for biochar and for this biogas,
Hmm.
can it be like complementary with each other? Like can it be done in one place?
uh, Different approach is required, right? There we have different approach. Pyrolysis is required there. Here we need a biogas plant that is required. So different aspect is there. We are burning there. Here there is anaerobic digestion, right? There are multiple, let's say, byproducts in biogas production, like that organic manure is there that can be used as a fertilizer, right? Here pipeline is required. There the biochar can be simply transported. Okay, so this different infrastructure will be required.
So also the parrot virus, will it spread to humans?
See, it is unlikely at present. Unlikely at present, but ultimately, if it is released into what you can say wild, then the parrot species in India, they are at threat overall. Okay, and you never know when it mutates. No, virus mutate करता है future में, so it can affect human health also. Okay, in future, that's why one health approach is there, required. Okay. Fine then. Okay, let us stop. Online students, if you have any doubt. Okay, we'll attach the PDF. It is very important for revision. You can download from the description. Okay.